The school system, I won't say that the school system is corrupt, because that's almost going against the system. I'm not one to really go against the system, and yet I can speak my public opinion about the system for what it is. I feel like the majority of these school systems, with these children operating at 8 hours a day, I'm saying elementary school students. Now that's fine for you to operate a young mind at 8 hours if they're in high school. Because remember, that's 4 years. That's right around the time period of when you're going to graduate and then get a job. But for a young mind to be in elementary school and also be in, what do they call it, middle school or high school? Is that high school? I mean, not high school, junior high. Junior high is the age of kind of somewhat preteen, and yet you are a teen, but you're not in high school. So it's like a middle ground, right? It's a middle ground between elementary and high school. I just don't think that elementary students, school kids of the ages of 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12, I don't think they should be doing an 8-hour shift of schoolwork. I do not think that children at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 should be doing 8-hour shifts of schoolwork. That does not make sense, because when you look deep under the cover of that, it's to understand that's child labor right there. It goes back to the industrial age. Yes, children are forced to do school for that long. It's to prep them in order to be working individuals in society as a whole. It's there to create them to become workers later on in life, after high school, right? That's why many of these children are working the 8 hours, so that they can blend in with American society. That's what the 8-hour school day shift is. And yet that does not right. I want to go against the grain. I don't like that. I don't like my niece or my nephew sitting in a classroom for 8 hours, right? And then they're putting in this 8-hour shift. They get a break somewhere in that, like a regular work day, to eat and sit down. And yet no meditation is involved in that in order to slow their mind. And then after the break is over, they're forced to go back and do their schoolwork, right? And then once the whole 8-hour shift is over, they go home, and now they're forced to study for a test, or they're forced to do homework, right? And then they only have a little bit time to play, and then they're forced to go back the next day and do the same thing. That's a work. And somebody somewhere deep in the laws, because remember, to be child labor, child labor is to actually go against the law. So somebody had to study and research and analyze this in order to break the law, to put children to work for that whole 8-hour shift. It's completely, in my mind, that's completely against the law. Children being in school for 8 hours. Yes, it is. That's against the law. Because I feel like a child mind can take and consume information within the 4-hour period and be done for the day. Yes, they can. A young mind was not built to be analyzing information and all that for 8 hours. That's why a lot of these young kids are stressed out, because a lot of times extracurricular activity is involved with that as well. You got some parents that they're into overworking their children to the fact that they see that their kids is going basically to work for 8 hours, 5 days out of the week. And then some of them are doing gymnastics and stuff like that, or doing dance classes and stuff like that on the side. That's too much for a child. That is completely too much for it. You can completely work a child to the fact of burnout, and now they're being diagnosed with depression at 11 or 12 years old, or even 7, 8 years old, or being diagnosed with ADHD. It's too much. Because to process too much information is to lead to ADHD anyway. Because it's completely unnatural for that kid's mind. You know what I'm saying? That's why ADHD is so rampant and on the rise. It's not the foods completely, it's the activity. Because like I said before, A child 7, 8 years old going to work, which is school, they're serving 8 hours. They're forced to multitask for 8 hours. They got to sit there, listen to the teacher. Then they got to sit in an environment where other kids are fussing and fighting and arguing over stupidity, right? Then they go home and still do more work, and yet the 8 hours is over with, and yet you still got homework to do, and yet your 8 hour has been served. That's a no-go. And I don't know who done did that, but that's in fact illegal, if you ask me. Because for the industrial age, right, to prevent children from working that age, wasn't the child labor laws put in place in order to prevent stuff like that, children from working? And yet, I said that before and I'm repeating, somebody took it upon themselves to figure out a creative way to actually bypass those laws. Yes, they have. Look at the system, look at the school system for what it was. Somebody had to think creatively to bypass the laws in order to put children to work at that age. Because it's industrial and yet it's in school form. It's in school format. I ain't with that. I just think you need to homeschool your kids. If you're working, can't afford daycare or something, you got to figure out some type of way to put your children in some type of homeschool program that is completely self-paced. Because all this flying and trying to do stuff fast to keep up, it does not work out. It's actually breaking down the minds of young children. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Ritalin is not in fact needed. A break is what's needed. Meditation is what is needed. That is what's needed. If you homeschool your kid, there's an energy within the home when you're not surrounded by all these other kids that's flying around trying to keep up with the whole school system itself at a rapid rate. If your children is at home, they're able to actually sit down, take in that information and process the information. And not only that, if they need quiet time, they're actually able to go off to their room, their bedroom or something like that and have that quiet time. In school, they don't provide that. And that's where the area comes and leads to of the breaking down of the mind. So you can only keep up with people for so long, especially a young mind. For every time I hear that an 8, 9, 10-year-old is depressed, or they got ADHD, or they just been diagnosed with ADHD and has hyperactivity issues, where when they get angry, they go off and they scream and go off on a tangent and get the smacking other people aside the face and head. That's more behind that besides mental illness. That might not even be completely mental illness. See, the mind has to break down some type of way to force people to slow down, to say stop. You need to stop moving and doing all this so much. Life itself will alter you to the point of forcing you to slow down. And with many of these kids, that's going to be the very thing that forces, or what ends up, it leads to, if you don't slow down and pay attention to the natural rhythm of life, teen suicide will in fact start to begin to happen. Because the brain can only process so much information at once. I'm seeing all type of teen suicides at a massive rate I've never seen before. And that's coming from this whole fast-paced society. You got what I'm saying? Teenage kids is looking around seeing, okay, well, mom and dad said I got to keep up on this. School teacher said I got to keep up on this. Okay, society, every time I look out my window through internet, social media, when I look out, they're telling me I got to keep up with this. Okay, my friends are saying I got to keep up with this. That's too much information for a young mind to process. That's why a lot of the kids, I said, are becoming depressed and having ADHD. And a lot of it sometimes doesn't have completely nothing to do with the food, as in what they're eating. Like, yes, what you do put in your body does activate the mind in a certain way. You are what you eat, but that's not necessarily truth in relation to this fast-paced society. Kids need to be given a break. I know someone in the family, their child was going to school for the 8 hour a day, 5 days a week, They will be at school doing all this schoolwork, come home, have to study for a test. On top of that, have to do homework. And not only that, their mom had them in all type of extracurricular activities, to the fact the child was starting to get depressed. This kid wasn't even 10 or 11 years old yet. This kid was in fact somewhere around 8 years old, and they was completely stressed out. And I felt for the child, for the simple fact that you don't run a child ragged like that, because by the time they hit to being a teen, they might not make it to even then. You got kids that's killing themselves, committing full-blown suicide even before then because they're too stressed out. You can stress somebody beyond the point that they take it upon themselves to go kill themselves, go blow their brains out with mommy or daddy's gun, or take a full bottle of pills just to escape the pressures of life that's being thrown their way. And so I made a video a little bit ago about the whole fast-paced society and how I'm not with it. And I'm not with it for these kids either. I'm not with that. I am so not with that, because when I look around, it's so many kids that have behavioral issues. And even them themselves don't know why they're acting out and why they're acting up. There's many kids right now that misbehave, and when their moms or dads scream at them and ask them why they're misbehaving, the kid don't even know why. The kids don't even know themselves enough to know why they're acting the way that they are, and yet the real reason why they're acting the way they are is because it's too much stress. It's overload on the brain. It's overkill. It's overkill. And the kid can't even look themselves in the mirror enough to say, you know what, I need to tell mommy and daddy I'm stressed out. Because see, kids being at that young age can't even put the word of stress into wording, into definition, because they don't even know what stress is. They never experience stress in the area of terminology, as into knowing what it is, and yet they feel it. They just can't say that's what it is and that they feel it. They know something is not right. Yes, young children and young minds, yes, they know that something is not right, and they feel that something is off. And yet when you're young like that, you feel this type of thing is normal, to be stressed out. But once again, you don't know what stressed out is, because you don't know what it is. You just know that you don't feel right. But you're forcing yourself to just live and exist like as if you're normal, because when you look all around you, being 7 or 8 years old, other people are acting the same way. And yet that's not normal. That's in fact abnormal. That's not the body's natural it's not the body's natural rhythm to do everything constantly fast paced. It's in fact abnormal. It goes against everything of what humanness stands for. See, even humans have to take a break sometimes, and even children need to be taking a break. You got many parents that don't believe in meditation because they feel that that's too religious, and yet I don't even practice religion all like that, and yet I still meditate, because it quiets and slows the mind. You got to empty your mind. If you never empty your mind will come where it will slowly crack. It has no choice. And how you'll know a mind is cracking is when you got all this type of energy of children that cannot be maintained. See, many of these parents, they can't even handle their own kids, and that's why. Many parents can't handle their kids, not completely because they can't discipline their kids. It's not that. It's just the fact that the mind was not designed to deal with all this high speed activity, constantly on the go, 24 hours a day, on top of all this schoolwork. Because when you're doing schoolwork, you are actually in fact on the go, and yet you're not going anywhere. That's why I'm not with the whole program of kids, doing whatever, 9 to 5, 8 to, what is it when they go to school, 8 to 4? That's still a 9 to 5 shift when you look at for what it is, what all they do. You got to sit and watch a teacher talk at you, not talk to you, talk at you. Doing assignments, I just don't like that type of stuff. It depresses me. I get depressed. See, even when I think about the whole fast pace of American society, that depresses me. It completely depresses me, because when I stand around and I talk to other people and they're working 9 to 5s and say it's 9 to 5s that they're completely unhappy with, and even children, when you stand in it, they go to school from 8 to 4. It's just a downcast, downtrodden mentality that many of these people hold and possess. It's like there's like no life there to be found, because the very job that they're going to, or the very school that they're going to, is completely sucking the life out of them. It's no enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much for me to think about. See, for kids, I don't like it. One of the main reasons why I don't like this whole full-time of kids going to school full-time, like they're at a 9 to 5, is because, as I said before, you never get a break. See, because to go to school from elementary through junior high and then go to school like that long through high school, is to then graduate and then work a job, working just as long as you've been working for that many years. These kids are working. I don't know what parents is not speaking up and not saying something. People be speaking about, oh, labor union this, or oh, labor union that, in relation to the jobs, and yet they completely let the fact that their kids are in fact working 9 to 5 jobs in the school system. They're letting that bypass their eyes to the fact no one is speaking up and saying nothing and stopping that type of activity. That's abnormal activity. Tell me your child went to school from elementary to junior high to high school to then graduate and go back to work again. Where is the break? School summer break is not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough for the mind. That's not enough to heal the body and the mind, spirit and soul, whatever. That's not enough. For me, it's not enough. I'm the type of person, I speak up, and this is another reason why majority of people don't like me, because I speak up and say when I feel that something is not right. I don't keep my mouth closed, is what I'm trying to say, just to fit in with the Joneses. Because I'm far past in the Joneses in the mind, is what I'm trying to say. If I look at something and it don't seem right and don't smell right, all of it just seems off, then I know for a fact that situation in itself is off for what it is. The school system in itself is off for elementary students. I was talking to my niece, and she's basically a genius. Like I said before, many programs outside of her school be contacting her because they be wanting her to, because she's always been an honor roll student, and she still is. She's probably gonna be always honor roll to the day she graduate. Even in elementary, she was honor roll. Right now, she's what, 12? She'll be doing, is she junior high? Somewhere around that age. But I remember one day she was telling me she was tired. Like, I'm tired. I'm just like really tired. And it just got me to thinking, you know what? I know that the honor roll system, can put pressure on you, but at the same time, it's something she enjoys. So that's a different thing. It's something she enjoys. If I ask her now, do you want to drop out the honor roll? She'll tell me quick in a hurry, no, in a heartbeat, because I want to be honor roll. She gets a thrill out of just being an honor roll student. But for some of these other kids, you got learning disabilities, you got all type of things that these kids, they might not can process information rather as quickly. Because remember, they're dealing with home life, they're dealing with mommy and daddy that might have marital issues, their brother and sister might not be acting right. Anything could be going on in a person's home life. And yet when you're forced to keep up in a classroom with all this information, that's enough to set you behind in life as it is. And then once you do start acting some type of wild, crazy way, mommy and daddy is screaming, well, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? I had to get on one of my cousins. She's my first cousin to be. In fact, I had to tell my granny to get on her behind about that, because my little cousin she's in kindergarten, and for some unknown reason she can't read properly. So my cousin be yelling at her, and I was like, no, I told my granny, you gotta get on to her about that. If not, I'll contact her myself, call her myself, and tell her you don't sit and scream at your child just because she can't read, at a quick pace as the rest of these kids. Because for one, that's a reason why. You got what I'm saying? She might either, because her brother wear glasses. He was actually born with a lazy eye, so he has to wear glasses. And I think for her, she has to wear glasses. And I was asking my granny, was she wearing glasses? Because, if you don't wear your glasses, that could actually slow your pace of reading too. Because you can't comprehend what you can't properly see, right? She said she didn't fully know because she hadn't seen her in a while. But I said either that is the reason why, or she could be dyslexic. Who knows? But you don't force your child. I'm not with that. I'm not with that. More than likely, as I go, I'll probably be making videos more in this area of where I just don't get into society, and I don't fit into society, and I'm not into doing what's considered the normal. Just to bypass as normal. That's failure in that. That's how many people commit suicide, as I said. So when I was telling my granny about my cousin, I was saying you don't sit and scream at a little girl that's in kindergarten that can't keep up in the area of reading. She's yelling at her at the fact that, okay, you can't read. You gotta look that there's something more going on there. But my cousin is wanting her to fit as a normal individual. Maybe it's not meant for her to fit as a normal individual. What if it comes to find out that she has dyslexia? I mean, I know that there's shun in that, but are you going to disown her because she's not considered normal? Take that as a gift for what it is. See, things that are different, I'm into accepting it for what it is and not disowning it and shunning it. Because when you take stuff that's different for what it is, there's something even more special in that. There could be a gift from God or the universe which awaits you that you never even know. You ain't considered it because you're trying to be so normal. I can't stand that. Like, I can't stand normalcy. I can't stand it. So I told my granny to tell my cousin she's going to have to get the little girl tested, because for her to be 5 years old in kindergarten and she can't keep up, it's to keep bombarding her with information which is going to completely stress the child out to not want to do anything. You know what I'm saying? She might need to actually be removed from that environment and put in a more slower class, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with LD or learning disabilities. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see why people say, well, if such and such is not functioning at this level or that, then something's wrong with them. No, they're operating as they're supposed to. See, that's a complete sheep mentality, and I'm not trying to get an attitude, but that's a complete sheep mentality when you look at somebody that has learning disabilities and just say, oh, something's wrong with them. They're not normal. And yet, come to find out, a lot of times, many of them people have some of the most greatest gifts on earth in the end. Yes, they do. If they actually make it that far without people trying to stop them in their gifts. You got what I'm saying? Like, I don't like normal. I can't stand it. I actually, normalcy, I hate it with a passion. I hate it. I was talking to somebody the other day about, my brother has two sisters. Let me see. How are they now? 10 years ago. I think they should be maybe about 26 now. 13, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can't remember how old they are. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, they should be about 26. I was right from the beginning. They was, when I first came across them, I worked at an autistic center. It was an autistic learning center for those who have autism, right? And so these twins, back then, they couldn't really feed themselves. They couldn't really clothe themselves. They really couldn't do anything but walk around. Walk around and make noises. They couldn't even talk or communicate, right? And so what led to that was their father and mother being on drugs. early on before they was born, and so that had an impact on them being born. With them being born, in a sense, considered not normal, being born with autism. And so my brother's dad would hide them, I guess in a room, or so I was told. I don't know how truthful that was. He would hide them away when visitors would come by the house, so that the visitors wouldn't see them, or maybe so that the girls, twin girls that I'm speaking on, maybe they wouldn't be trying to sit, because they would like to sit on people's lap and play in your hair, even though they didn't know you. So maybe to prevent that, that's why his dad and his stepmom ended up putting them in the room or whatnot. But I was speaking to somebody and they was saying, that's so sad that they never came out normal. And I'm like, normal? Normal is not fun. I mean, I can understand that these two girls is 26 years old and they can't properly communicate and they spend a lot of time in their own world, right? And they can't really say what their wants and needs is, and they can't I mean, they can eat, they can feed themselves, but they can't just go to the refrigerator and make food or make sandwiches and salads and stuff like that. And they might not can really take showers by themselves. They might need somebody always there to help them do that, right? But that's their normal. When I seen them, I was like, this is the most, because see, and that was learning for me, which is another reason why I had worked at the Autism Academy, because to not be able to communicate to the outside world, outside of yourself, being autistic, for me, that was a learning experience in itself. To teach me who those kids were. Because they couldn't say, look, I want this. Look, I need this. And they wore, the girls, my brother's sisters, they wore diapers too. So they wore that just for accident purposes, and yet they could actually use the toilet. Yeah, they could sit down on the toilet. But that was an experience for me to learn and see how people operate in the area where they can't communicate properly. That was the best and most greatest experience for me to see special needs that meet the eye in the area of stop thinking you have to be normal to operate in normal society, because them girls was living up to their full potential. You got what I'm saying? Even though they're not out here working jobs and all that other stuff, even though they can't really tell what it is they want to do next, they're serving some type of purpose. Even their birth is probably a lesson to their mom and dad to never use drugs again. Who knows, right? And yet, for my eyes to meet their eyes, it was just interesting. Because see, somebody else would just sit there and be like, oh, nothing's there. They're just looking at me. And I'm like, no. There's a whole world inside their brain that hasn't met the outside world. And yet you just can't see it, and yet it's there, right? For me, the experience was intriguing. That's all I can say. I think small-minded people and narrow-minded people and people who live in the box, they can't see anything else past what it actually is. And that's what I was saying in relation to the conversation that I had with this person, because they were looking at their life as, they're not normal. And that's so sad and this and this. And I'm like, that's not sad. There's nothing absolutely not, that's not sad at all. To me, in my mind, in my eyes, that is nothing sad about that. Just because they're not considered normal and have autism. Because see, they're in their house, their parents can take them places on vacation. They still see the world in the way that they see the world. It might not be in the same way that me and you see the world, but yet they still see the world. They still got eyes to see and ears to hear, and they can still vocalize, right? They can walk around their room and do anything. They can walk around their house. They got their legs and their feet. They can do whatever they want, except for tear up stuff. They never was a type to tear up stuff. They were actually obedient girls. They can go out in the backyard and play with a dog or a cat, because they're not aggressive or anything like that. So I can't get with that whole thing of what's normal. Being normal sucks. Because I say this in the area of when I go back to the 9-to-5 job, and people that can leave the 9-to-5, right? Not saying that everybody can leave, just walk out and just say I'm done, I ain't working no more, because remember, you gotta work to live, to eat, right? You gotta work to eat, not to live. You gotta work to help yourself eat and provide bills and stuff like that. But I'm saying in the area where people are stuck and they want to be stuck in situations that they hate, many of them people are not living up to their full potential of what they can do in the area of satisfying and pleasing themselves. See, to not walk away from a job that you hate in the area of a fast-paced 9 to 5, knowing that you can go get something that's better, is to not live up to your full potential, because to stay stuck in that job is not meeting your full potential, because who's to say once you leave, who knows, you might leave, take it upon yourself, leave that job that you hate, that's sucking the very life of you, and end up somewhere that's completely pleasurable, that you completely enjoy doing, and that you know that you're supposed to be there to serve a ultimate purpose. So when I say that my brothers, sisters are autistic almost severely, as some society might say, when I say that they're living up to their full potential more so than many of these people that are allowing themselves to be stuck in these 9 to 5s that they hate, I say that because in autism, there's even freedom in that. There's freedom to be themselves, is what I'm saying. The autistic child is free to be themselves, even though they have to have rules, but they're not completely confined to chains. To sit down in an office space doing something you hate for the next 30 years, or to sit on an assembly line you hate, and yet you know you should be trying to prep and prepare a way to get out of that, to go do something more enjoyable that you love. Got what I'm saying? To be chained to something is complete devastation in itself. And so that's what I was trying to tell this person. No, they might be autistic, but they're still living up to their full potential because of the freedom that they have. They might not understand and know the world out here to roam, and yet the autistic child know that it all begins in the mind, because that's where the world is. So it just is what it is. I don't look at any type of difference as being something that's so different that it's a weakness or something. I don't look at stuff like that. If a child can't read, like me, I'm up to maximum at a par at reading, right? I'm a complete beast at reading and at writing. But I can't look down on an actual child that can't read. You see what I'm saying? Because they're viewing their world as the universe had made them whole for what they are. They're viewing their world for what it is. Now, if I didn't want them to be taken advantage of, that individual that can't read, if I didn't want them to be taken advantage of, say by banks or in the area of billing and signing checks, what I would do is try to help them read, but not force them to become normal. Because even that leads to a thing of becoming abnormal. Because what they'll do is they'll start to feel down upon themselves to the fact that they can't reach a certain level of status of not being the best at reading. Got what I'm saying? You got to have a middle ground in all this. You can't be too severe over here not being able to do, and too severe over here where you can do. Because in either sides is where you feel like, okay, I can't do anything, and yet you can. You know what I'm saying? You gotta function where you see fit as being your own normal. Even weird people. I love weird people. I gravitate to weird people and they gravitate to me. Yet I wouldn't strip away their weirdness for nothing. Because being around weird people helps to give me a break away from what's considered normal society. Weird people who are weird bring substance and life to the table. They make life vibrant. They make life exhilarating, because see, arts itself is considered weird. Yes, it is. It's a weird lane, and it's created by weird people who don't completely fit in the norm. Because remember, back in the day, I think back in the time of the Roman era, was it Roman era? Way back then, where art and artists was considered to be a legal activity. People that could draw and stuff like that, they were casted And some of them stoned to death and some of them burned alive and crazy stuff like that, all because they were artists and people that were highly religious. They were against the artistic pursuit and endeavors. They were. Because a lot of times back then they felt like if you were an artist, you were being driven by the devil. Yes, very much so. People that practice really strict religious faiths way back then in them times, in them eras, if people found out you could draw real good or paint real good, you were revered in certain communities, certain areas and communities. But many of these strict faith, I can't even say my words, tongue-tied, faiths, they viewed you as an outcast of society. They viewed you defiant by nature, all because you can do artistic works. They felt like that was the devil's activity. And many of them still feel that way today. If you say I'm in the music industry, if you say I'm in the film industry, they'll say, oh, you're working for the devil. Got what I'm saying? Normal people. Trust me when I say this. If you say, well, I went and I worked for Oprah Winfrey, the first thing somebody want to say is, oh, you're with the Illuminati. You're doing the devil's work. Oh, you sold your soul to the devil. And you're like standing there like, what? Like, how does that happen? What? You're looking around like, dude, is that possible? Because you're looking at them dumbstruck to the simple fact that they live such an ordinary, everyday life, they can't see no farther than that. There's no potential in being normal. That's why I'm not with it. See, people, when they meet and see me, they see me online and they like, okay, I see that you kind of hip in the mind. You're kind of different, right? But then when they see me in person and they're around me and the way that I operate and do things, they say, man, you ain't normal at all. You is not normal at all. You're the Oreo for one, white on the inside, black on the outside, right? You listen to all type of music, whether it's rock and roll, you listen to reggae, you listen to country music, you listen to blues, you listen to EDM, which is electric dance music, right? You listen to trance music, you listen to people like the Chemical Brothers, which that's house music too, electronica. I'm not normal. So I can't really put myself in spaces and environments where it's too much normalcy. And I start to find that out even in the area of friendships. Because see, my mom, she don't like that weird people is drawn to me, and yet I love it. Because they're teaching me about their world, which is something totally, completely opposite of my own. And yet the commonality there that we see in each other, the reflection is that we're both weird, right? And so it's all interesting. This whole thing of not fitting into a normal society, man. Because you can stand there, right? You can stand there with a normal person, right? And be like, see, this is the benefit of being an artist, a full-blown from birth artist. You can be standing there with, see, a normal person, they don't think like artists think at all. They think one way, and it's always confined to one way, right? People who are normal, everyday people, they don't see a solution beyond what is presented to them. You got what I'm saying? Hold on one second. Let me drink this. I'm thirsty. People who are normal, that's all they see is normal. They're not really good at problem solving. They're not. They're good at following along with orders. They're good in the area of going along with the masses. Sticking in with crowds and never standing out. That is no fun. That is completely no fun. They feel like if They do anything that's different, they're going to be shunned for it. For me, I don't care. Let me be shunned. Because I'm going to use, what I'm going to do is being shunned, I'm going to use that to my greatest advantage. I did that many a times before in the area of doing marketing on social media. People would shun me for it. What I would do, I would flip that back around and tell everybody that such and such is shunning me. Somebody else that was normal would keep their mouth closed. I would go on and on and on about such and such shunning me, and I would do it so loud it was completely vocalized in writing. Such and such is shunning me for this, such and such is bashing me for this, and yet I would flip it so good in the area of marketing where I would allow them shunning me to sell myself. You gotta put things for what it is. If somebody is shunning you for being abnormal, you got to flip that to your greatest advantage. That's what I was doing time and time again. So every time I was bashed for stuff, I would flip that because see, remember, marketing is all about the image and the storytelling. The image has to go along with the story. You know what I'm saying? In the area of storytelling, in order for others to buy, even in relation to social media. So every time I was being bashed for stuff, I put my photo with it. I take the information they was bashing me on, put my photo there, put my face there, multiple pictures, and then tell the story and flip some positivity with that and sell myself off just like that. Yes, I would. I don't get with normal. People who shun you like that, that's why they behind, because they misunderstand abnormal. I leave them people to rot off and die as they will, because to never step beyond normal is to never see who you truly are and where you fit within yourself, not where you fit within normal society. Normal society is bland. It serves no purpose. It serves nothing at all. So, I come across people, everybody has their own insecurity and their flaws, but, black people sometimes, I do think sometimes black inferiority does exist. And I'm saying that in the area of not based upon what you've been told, just based upon you being fearful in the area of not stepping out in other areas of where you should be stepping out, being totally unafraid. See, in my past, when I was growing up, I would see older white women, right? And they would have on these cut off shorts, and you can see all their varicose veins. Is that what you call it? The veins that be sticking out and they all blue and purple, right? And it didn't really look fashionable on them, because remember, they're veins. They're in cellulose. Cellulite? Why I say cellulose? Cellulite. So these older white women, they be like in their 50s and 60s, and they'll have a whole bunch of tremendous cellulite on their legs. And yet they didn't even care, because they was too busy living life than to be paying attention to the fact of all humans get cellulite sometime in their life. So they didn't really care about how it looked, because once again, the life that they were enjoying was more important. But I would hear black people sometimes say around me, oh my gosh, like, look at that woman's legs. She should be shunned. She should be fearful, and they would like kind of shun her. Like, why would she do that? Why would she come out the house with her legs all looking like that? And basically what they was doing was they was portraying their insecurity. They were deflecting from their own insecurity. They was taking their own insecurity and portraying it back on that other person that had nothing to do with them. You know what I'm saying? That lady didn't know our name. She didn't know nothing about us. And yet she was going about enjoying her day, although she had a whole pot of cellulite on her legs. That might have looked what you would consider in terminology kind of gross by society standard. And yet even that don't matter, because she was living. She knew that tomorrow is not promised. None of these days are promised. So I gave her much respect for even to allow that to just hang out loose as it did. Because who to say that she wasn't going to be in her grave 5-10 years from that very situation. So, I think in a normal society and getting caught up with all this fast-paced stuff, it's a lot of insecurity there. You have to be very insecure individual, right? To want to keep up with all this stuff and present some other face that's not your real face, right? In order to keep up. It's a level of deep insecurity. It's to make up for some type of shortcoming. That's all I'm trying to say. And yet there's even loss in that. You can completely lose your whole self-identity trying to keep up with the fast pace and Joneses. You know? You can lose yourself in that. And I've heard stories when I was younger, because I didn't understand. Like, I used to, like, be online looking up stuff and Googling stuff in my early 20s and stuff. And I used to be like, how do people lose themselves? I didn't understand. I'm saying people that was working these fast-paced 9 to 5s. It was before it all got sped up like it is now. Because a 9 to 5 wasn't completely as fast as it is now. But I couldn't understand, how do 40 and 50-year-old people lose themselves when they're working these jobs and trying to keep up with other people? And now I'm beginning to see the light and understand that you can, in fact, lose yourself in relation to insecurity when you're trying to keep up with other people, because you got to put on all these different faces and disguises to present something other than yourself just to appear normal to other people. That's not cool. You know what I'm saying? That is completely not cool. That's a challenge even in that. Just to say you're somebody else that you're not, like, that can slowly be a soul killer as well. And so for me, in the area of friendships, when I used to meet friends, there was some of them that when we were out in public, they would a lot of times be ashamed to be around me because they were like a lot older than me, almost nearing the 40-year-old, late 30s, going into that complete adulthood. And yet I would do stuff completely abnormal out in public that didn't fit in with normal society. Like, if we were out at a restaurant and it was a nice restaurant and say it's a table set for 4, and yet it's only me and this other person and we out eating, if I want to put my feet up on that chair that's sitting next to me that nobody's sitting in, that's just what I'm going to do. Remember, I paid for this table for this night and this afternoon. Why wouldn't I? I mean, in the area, it's not that you're trying to disrespect the business owner of that establishment. No, you're not trying to do that. But at the same time, when you go out to a restaurant and you pay what you pay, especially if it's a high class restaurant, you pay all this money, you're in fact renting that table. Yes, you are. And people bypass that. So I should be able to do anything in that little cubbyhole area of where I'm sitting, because remember, to pay $100 for a plate is to own that plate for the night, as well as own that table and them chairs, because that's a lot of money for just a plate of food. So I might want to sit there and take my pants off at the table. Might not happen, who knows? But I'm just saying, if I want to put my feet up on a chair at that table that I just paid for to rent out at that high class expensive restaurant, then I'm going to do that, because it's my money, so I can do whatever I choose to do at that time. And I'm not trying to disrespect that business establishment, but that's just how I carry myself, in the manner of, to pay money and rent out a space is to do what you want with that space, even in the area of going to a restaurant. It is. So I'm not a normal individual. So my friendships, I had to realize I can't be bothered with normal people. People that like to live normal and operate in normal society, I can't be bothered with those type of people. I've actually had friendships where I will argue with them out in public, because I'm like, well, what is wrong with you? They're asking me what is wrong with me, and I'm asking them what's wrong with them. Because see, I was living up to my full potential as I felt that I was supposed to be, and serving how I was supposed to be, and yet for them they was too insecure. See, being normal, that's what I noticed time and time again. Being normal presents nothing more but being stuck in deep insecurity. It does. When you think about it, a very normal individual is a very insecure individual. Because see, within the 4 walls of insecurity is not feeling secure. You got what I'm saying? And so to not feel secure is to try to blend in so you feel secure. And I'm not with that either. I ain't with any of that. So I wear a book bag everywhere I go, right? And the reason why I wear a book bag is, first of all, I might want to write when I'm out, so I got to take notebook, paper, and I got to take a pen. I take a lunch box with me so I can have something to eat if I feel like snacking on something. So I take a snack. I take my phone charger with me in case of my phone go dead. I take my wallet because I need money. You got what I'm saying? When I go places or need whatever I might need transportation wise. And so the average normal person will be like, why are you wearing a book bag everywhere you go? Can't you get a purse? No, I can't get a purse. A book bag serves me better than a purse because remember, to carry a cell phone is to charge a phone, right? To carry a lunch pail is to know you got food in case you get stuck out somewhere and can't come back home and you're low on your funds where you can't go get money. I think smart and logically. I know for a fact I might leave out this house right now, get way on the other side of town, can't make it back home, didn't take enough money for me when I went where I went, and there I am stuck for a while. And yet, what if I didn't take me something to eat or a snack? You gotta think smart when you're out. That's why I take the lunch pill. And yet, even people with that might think that's not normal. Like, why would you take your food where you're going if you're not taking it to a job or something? Because I'm not normal. Normal people don't think like you. We think outside. Because people have asked me. I've been wearing book bags since I was in college way back in 2004, 2005 when I went to college way back then. I have been wearing book bags ever since. I like how they feel. I like how they look. I like the convenience of them. I like what all I can put in them. You got what I'm saying? And so to travel and move around is to know sometimes you got more stuff than what a purse can hold. And if you're a tomboy anyway, why would you be trying to lug around some big old purse that somebody can snatch out your hands? First of all, that's not my style for one. And not only that, I'm not trying to be having where I'm walking down the street with a big old suitcase looking purse that I can fit the whole refrigerator and stove in it, and yet somebody run past me and grab it out my hands. That's not going to work. I like to feel whatever I got close to me. So I'm not going to wear no fanny pack because that's too small. So I just got with the book bag because I can put everything in it that I need to go and go on by my business. But yeah, we used to have these arguments, me and certain normal friends. We used to have many petty arguments because they would try to get me to dress like a girl. They would try to get me to get my nails done. I don't like that either. My hair, I like wearing my hair like this because it's easy for me. You know what I'm saying? Wearing my hair like this is easy for me. I braid it. I wear it like this for maybe, 2 months. Usually I try to not let it go longer than 2 months. But not only that, I don't have to do anything to it. I can wash it in this braid. Yes, I wash it. I can put my black silk head tie on my head. I can put a bandana on. I can put hats on it. And I don't have to worry about struggling with it. And I don't have to get relaxers and all that other stuff in it just to have it stay put in the wind and all that. So I'm very basic. But that was the main thing of the area. Why don't you want to dress like a woman? You should dress more ladylike. You need to sit like a woman. You need to sit more ladylike. And I'm like, dude, if I got to do all that, I don't need to even be friends with you. Because that is not going to work. That's completely out of my element. See, a real artist don't sit around concerned. And even with the area of me having tattoos, they didn't like that either. My other tattoo, you can barely see it. Even in the area of being an artist, artists don't really sit around wondering what's completely ladylike. I mean, unless say they're into doing makeup or say maybe hair and are doing it in order to do some marketing in relation to marketing to sell themselves online, to do it as a sales pitch so that they can get more clients or something like that. But for me to be, I like the way I look. I truly do. It's self-admiration in the area where it should be, because I didn't always feel like this. When my self-esteem was broken by other people, I didn't always feel like this. So some people get offended when I say I admire myself. They're going to have to get over it. because I'm making up for lost times of where my self-esteem wasn't always here, being broken by other people. But yeah, so why would I sit around trying to wonder what is completely ladylike? I mean, I did that back in the days when I tried to be normal and blend in. That was in my early 20s when I was trying to find my way and fully find out who I was. And even that didn't work out. It was a reason why I think life, it's a reason why everything in life, certain things, doesn't work out for you. Because they wasn't purpose and meant to work out for you. The person I am standing here today is the person I'm meant to be. When I didn't go to regular high school, that was never purpose from the beginning, because that probably would have killed me from the stress of dealing with these bad kids. A lot of the kids was bad. They used to fight every day. That just wasn't meant, because certain environments stress me out to the fact I literally start to feel sick, like queasy. I don't feel right. I feel like I'm out of my element. So yeah. Yeah, this one particular individual, did I mention her? Me and her, we used to argue because she would say, well, you need to wear these dress shirts. And they were like real woman-like. And then she would say, well, you're not sitting like how a woman is supposed to sit. Like, sit with your legs closed. Basically, she was trying to make me become her. And so I had to, like, I won't say get rid of her, but I had to, like, move away from that. Because she lives a normal life to the fact she's insecure about everything. Her whole life is insecurity in itself. That's why she can't get a man, and yet she wants so badly, and she's so desperate to get married. And that's why she can't keep a man and be married. Because to be too deeply rooted in insecurity is to make other people walk and actually run the other way from you. Because they can never be themselves when they're in your presence. And so that friendship in itself had to show to me and expose me. That was a learning experience from God in itself. To show me never be normal. And never have normal friends. Don't get into that. Because you will literally kill yourself off in that. You will. I felt that. When I was around her, I think that the friendship with her was more than likely sent by God, the universe, or whoever, sent to me to show me what normal actually is. The normalcy in relation to friendship and having a normal friendship. How bizarre. Like, the friendship with her was the most uncomfortable, unsettling thing. Because first of all, she's highly religious and I'm not. So basically we was almost reflecting to each other what each person is not. We were completely opposite individuals is all I'm saying. She was normal, I was weird. She's normal, I'm an outcast. She's normal, I'm a complete artist. She sees no solutions to any problems, meaning she can't figure out hardly no problems. She'll sit stuck in a problem and not try to work herself out and just completely give up on life. And yet I see all opportunities, all sides to everything, all sides to life, and all possibilities, right? It wasn't working. And so I feel like sometimes God even has to send people into your life even to understand why you operate the way that you operate in the area of being different, being the outcast. Because if normal people a lot of times don't know how to solve their own problems, as in the area of working out and coming up with tangible solutions that they can use for their benefit and for the benefit of others, if they can't do that type of stuff and yet you can, that's to say that you could either help them with that, but you can't help them completely if they don't want to help themselves. You can't be bothered with that, because if so, they'll drain you. They'll drain the whole life support out of you. But once again, if they can't solve their own problems, that's to show you, where it's not a benefit of being normal. Yeah. So even she had to show me that she was too normal. And she tried to confine me to bring me back into normalhood and normalcy. and I wasn't fitting. I was fighting up against her, and I was trying to bring her more out to be more alive. Be more alive and out here. Not be artistic, but just let go of the confines of life and be free, and let go and let life be life, and let the universe be the universe. And yet it was a fight even in the area of that. She told me don't use the name God. I mean, she told me don't use the name universe, you use the name God. And I'm like, look, I'm a multi-potentialite. So I use whatever I'm thinking at that time, whether I say God, whether I say universe, whether I say source, God, source, whoever. You can't get caught up in all the small things. And I will tell her that over and over. Normal people get too caught up in a lot of the small things in the area where they allow those things to become a big stressor in their life. They do. And they don't see beyond those small things. So yeah, but that's just too much. I don't fit with none of that. I leave all that normalcy where it is. It's not for me. I really feel normalcy is not really for anybody. It's just been made and molded for society as a whole to create order, to help us stay in line, and to help many more be individuals, because there is many people who can't seem to get stuff done unless they're told what to do, right? So you need some type of structure for those people, because some people get comfortable with structure, and yet me, I am not one of those individuals. I like to just do. I'm all over the place because my mind is all over the place. That's how artists think. So I don't support normalcy, and yet I do. If you can't think for self, then somebody else has to think for you. But at the end of the day, for me, I think for me. How do you think?